Bolen here, and for the first time since I started Formula Bone back in 2021, it is time for me to preview and predict a Formula One Chinese Grand Prix because it is finally back on the F1 calendar for the first time since 2019. Let's start off by talking about the Chinese Grand Prix's 4-year cancellation streak that's about to come to an end unless something crazy happens between now and the race, because it is pretty wild. Did you know that the Formula One Chinese Grand Prix has been canceled more times than any other F1 race? The Chinese Grand Prix is currently on an F1 record streak of being canceled the last 4 seasons in a row after being under contract to be run from 2020 through 2023 and then not appearing on the final race calendar of any of those 4 seasons. The 2020 race was initially canceled due to pandemic gathering and travel restrictions in China that continued in large enough form through 2023 to prevent the race from returning to Shanghai until now, since China has since eased said restrictions. Interestingly, despite the fact that it's taken this long for the Chinese Grand Prix to return to the F1 calendar since being canceled in 2020, it is actually not the Grand Prix that has taken the longest to return to F1 since being canceled back in 2020. That unfortunate title belongs to the Vietnamese Grand Prix, which was supposed to make its F1 calendar debut on April 5th, 2020, and was subsequently postponed, then canceled, then had its contract to put on future F1 events terminated after one of its main organizers, the chairman of the Hanoi People's Committee, was arrested on corruption charges. I'm actually pretty upset that F1 never got to go race on the Vietnamese Grand Prix's Hanoi circuit because it looked wild, but who knows? F1 loves adding races onto the calendar these days, so maybe it'll make its debut one of these seasons. But enough about the Vietnamese Grand Prix. Here are 3 Formula One Chinese Grand Prix fun facts. Fun fact number 1, 7-time Formula One world champion Michael Schumacher's final victory in Formula One came at the 2006 Chinese Grand Prix. Schumacher won the race for Ferrari, with the Renaults of Fernando Alonso and Giancarlo Fisichella rounding out the podium respectively. This win was especially significant for 2 other reasons. First, because Schumacher had just announced his retirement from Formula One after winning the previous race in Italy, and second, because this win would mark the final time in his career that Michael Schumacher would lead a Formula One World Drivers' Championship. By the way, if you could please toss this video a like, I'm trying to hit 1,500 likes on this video so that maybe people will start respecting me. Fun fact number 2, the Chinese Grand Prix's Shanghai International Circuit was built at a cost of $240 million, making it the most expensive Formula One circuit ever constructed when its gates opened. Now, that record would go on to be absolutely smashed in 2009, when the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix's $1 billion+ Yas Marina circuit hosted its first race. And fun fact number 3, Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes have both absolutely dominated the Chinese Grand Prix over the years. Since 2008, Lewis Hamilton has won half of the 12 Chinese Grand Prix that have been hosted, and since 2012, Mercedes have won 6 of the 8 Chinese Grand Prix that have been hosted. What's crazy about Lewis's Chinese Grand Prix dominance is that his 6 Chinese Grand Prix wins pale in comparison to his 7 Canadian Grand Prix wins, 8 Hungarian Grand Prix wins, and also 8 British Grand Prix wins. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. F1 is all about finding simple ways to improve your performance, and if you're a dude 18 or older who's looking for an easy way to improve your performance, look no further than my sponsor, BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a men's wellness company offering a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and if you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part? It is all done online, so no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. So if you're looking for some help getting a better reaction time, check out Blue Chew, and we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code FBO at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code FBO to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information, and we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. Next up, here's everything you need to know about the Shanghai International Circuit if this is your first time ever watching the F1 Chinese Grand Prix. The Shanghai International Circuit is in Shanghai, China, and opened in 2004. The circuit was designed by Herman Tilke, who also designed a ton of other current F1 circuits like Circuit of the Americas, the Jeddah Corniche circuit, and the Baku City circuit. Interestingly, the Chinese Grand Prix Shanghai International Circuit has a secret message hidden within its track layout. Can you spot it? If you aren't familiar with the Chinese language, then the answer is definitely no, so allow me to show it to you. The circuit was actually designed to resemble the Chinese character Shang. Shang is the first character in the name of the city that the circuit is in, Shanghai, and it translates into English as the word superior. While the circuit obviously doesn't resemble the character Shang entirely because that would have made for a less dynamic circuit that wouldn't be that great to race on, you can clearly see the inspiration when the two are compared to each other. If you ask me, I love the idea of track layouts being inspired by the cities they're in, and I think more cities should do this with their circuits. For example, let's say if Circuit of the Americas were to be redesigned to represent the city of Austin, Texas, it would be shaped like someone who just moved to Austin from California. As someone who lived in Austin for 8 years, I am qualified to say that. The Shanghai International Circuit is 5.451 kilometers or 3.39 miles in length, and the Chinese Grand Prix will consist of 56 laps around its 16 corners. The racetrack features 2 DRS activation zones, one for each of the circuit's 2 straights. Now it is important to note that these 2 DRS activation zones are essentially back-to-back, and because they each feature their own detection line, drivers who overtake in the first DRS activation zone on the back straight are at risk of being re-overtaken in the second one on the pit straight. The most famous sections of the Shanghai International Circuit are as follows. There's the world-renowned Turn 1-2 complex with its ever-tightening radius that is a huge challenge for drivers and is arguably Tilke's most unique corner, rivaled only by Turn 8 at Istanbul Park. There is the high-speed cornering S of turns 7 and 8 that Mercedes will not be happy about because they stink at high-speed cornering right now. There is the Turn 12-13 complex that is similar to Turn 1-2, but less aggressive and with higher stakes as it leads drivers onto the back straight. And there is, of course, the back straight that is one of the longest straights in all of Formula One at 1.2 kilometers. Next up, here are some F1 storylines you should be following throughout the 2024 Chinese Grand Prix weekend. First, Formula One driver Zhou Guanyu is about to make F1 history this weekend. When the lights go out at the Chinese Grand Prix in Shanghai on Sunday, Stake F1 team driver Zhou Guanyu will become the first ever Chinese F1 driver to compete in a Formula One race in China. Zhou's entire race weekend is sure to be an absolute spectacle, as he is a massively popular figure in China, which is F1's biggest market in terms of TV viewership. So be on the lookout for Zhou love at every single corner of the Shanghai International Circuit. Now, one sad fact of the matter is that this may end up being Zhou Guanyu's first and last Chinese Grand Prix. His contract at Stake F1 team is up at the end of the year, and there is definitely a chance that he will not receive an extension nor a contract with another team, just given how competitive the 2025 driver market is going to be. A ton of driver contracts are ending at the end of this season, like Zhou's, and there's also a ton of young talent waiting in the wings right now, which means it will be tough for any current drivers with contracts ending to keep their seats for 2025. That being said, all hope is definitely not lost for Zhou remaining in F1 and getting future home races in China. Zhou can definitely increase his chances of staying in F1 after this season if he finishes the season ahead of his teammate Valtteri Bottas, and if his popularity in China means teams will want him for the sponsorship money that he can help bring in. Accordingly, teams, along with all of us, will definitely be paying close attention to the reception that Zhou gets from his home crowd all weekend long. Side note, while this is Zhou's 100% home Grand Prix, McLaren driver Oscar Piastri pointed out on Twitter that his great-great-grandfather was Chinese, so it's also Oscar's 1/16th home Grand Prix. And speaking of 16, I must point out that there are 16 corners at the Shanghai International Circuit. Coincidence? I, J-Bone, think not. Oscar top 5 confirmed. Second, the first F1 sprint race of 2024 is this weekend in China. Ah yes, F1 sprint. Everyone's favorite, least favorite thing on earth returns for 2024 to once again be the most divisive thing in all of Formula One. If you're new to F1, F1 sprint weekends are special event weekends where the race weekend changes entirely for the literal stated purpose of sacrificing practice time in favor of adding in more racing events. A normal race weekend goes free practice 1 and free practice 2 on Friday, free practice 3 and qualifying on Saturday, and the Grand Prix on Sunday. The 2024 F1 sprint weekend goes free practice 1 and sprint race qualifying on Friday, the sprint race and Grand Prix qualifying on Saturday, and the Grand Prix on Sunday. Sprint races are divisive because while some people think the added racing events are way more fun to watch than practice sessions, others think that that isn't worth the trade-off of said racing events ruining the mystery and prestige of the Grand Prix and also taking practice away from teams and drivers. Regardless, was it a weird idea for F1 to make the Chinese Grand Prix a sprint weekend despite the fact that F1 hasn't raced in Shanghai since before F1 sprint was invented? Yep. Was it a bad idea for F1 to make the Chinese Grand Prix a sprint weekend despite the fact that F1 hasn't raced in Shanghai since before F1 sprint was invented? We'll find out soon enough. In case you're wondering, the other F1 sprint weekends this season are Miami, Austria, Austin, Brazil, and Qatar for a total of 6 sprint races in 2024. 6. Surely that won't cause any anger among Step 1 fans. Your next F1 storyline to follow, there is a high probability that some interesting F1 podium history could be made this weekend in China. The 2024 F1 season has seen the top 2 finishers in each race thus far be on the same team, with Red Bull boasting 1-2 finishes in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and Japan, and Ferrari finishing 1-2 in Australia. If this weekend's Chinese Grand Prix features another 1-2 finish to make it 5 in a row, it will tie the record for the most 1-2 finishes to start an F1 season that's currently held by the 2019 season. Now, what would separate the 2024 record from the 2019 one is that in 2019, all 5 1-2 finishes were by the same team, Mercedes, whereas this season obviously has featured 2 teams combining to go 1-2 to start the year, which is way more unique. And it will be even more unique if the team to get that 1-2 finish this weekend in China is Haas. And because I have Haas delusion syndrome, I legitimately believe that that is a real possibility. Now, it might even have a higher likelihood than a Red Bull 1-2 if my sources are correct, which they never are, but maybe they are this time. Haas! Shout out to my amazing longtime sponsor, Indeed, which is the best hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one convenient place. Whether you're hiring or looking for a job, Indeed is the place to go. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, Indeed is a powerful hiring platform that can help you do it all. Some things I love about Indeed are that Indeed makes hiring all in one place very easy because their hiring platform matches you with quality candidates instantly, and that Indeed empowers you to hire for a job or find a job, making it a true one-stop shop for employment opportunities. So what are you waiting for? Whether you're hiring for a job or searching for one, you need Indeed. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/FBone. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/FBONE and support the show by saying you heard about it on this podcast. Indeed.com/FBone. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. You need Indeed. Go there. Go to that URL. Do it. Do it. Now the moment you've all been waiting for. Here are my 3 bona fide race predictions for this weekend's Formula 1 Chinese Grand Prix. I'm about to go 3 for 3 on these folks, so stay tuned. My first race prediction is that Charles Leclerc will beat Carlos Sainz for the first time this season in Shanghai. It is no secret that Charles Leclerc is yet to finish a race ahead of his Ferrari teammate Carlos Sainz this season. The one thing that's been holding Charles Leclerc back, aside from his car's brakes in Bahrain, is qualifying pace, which historically has always been Leclerc's biggest strength. So it's only a matter of time before Charles Leclerc figures out what he needs to do in qualifying to maximize the car, and once he does that, he's going to start beating Sainz, and I think that happens this weekend after Leclerc has had 2 weeks to fix his qualifying problems. My second race prediction is that Lewis Hamilton will have his standalone best result of the season thus far at the Chinese Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton is the winningest Chinese Grand Prix driver ever with 6 wins, so he knows this circuit better than anyone. And with Mercedes working hard to fix their tractor of a car and F1 coming off of a 2-week break, I love Lewis to finish P6 or higher and snag his best result of 2024 yet. My final race prediction is that Daniel Ricciardo will out-qualify his teammate Yuki Tsunoda for the first time this season and finish the race ahead of Yuki. Daniel Ricciardo put on an absolute masterclass to win the 2018 Chinese Grand Prix despite starting the race in P6, and I believe Daniel can and will channel all the intense pressure and scrutiny on him right now into a positive result at a circuit where he had one of the best wins of his career. And finally today, here's my prediction for the 2024 Chinese Grand Prix top 5 finishers with zero reasoning nor explanation. P5, Oscar Piastri. P4, Carlos Sainz. P3, Charles Leclerc. P2, Checo. And P1, Max. Yeah. Leave a comment with your 2024 Chinese Grand Prix race predictions so I can see them. But before you comment, remember to subscribe and then help me get this video to 1,500 likes by tossing it a like. Special shout out to my top YouTube channel members: Joe Max's #1 hater Snow, Brian Linton, Daddy Fett, Wolf Loves Racing, Waffleopagus, and David Hake. Mash that join button just below this video to get your name shouted out right here in future videos, as well as a bunch of other awesome perks for less than $5 a month. Until next time, folks, J-Bone! J-Bone!